Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. Good effort, Meg. I know it's a little bit early, it's still summertime, but we're very close to the start of fall, and I wanted to share with y'all one of my favorite autumn decorations that you can crochet yourself, and that is a crocheted pumpkin. I made a couple of these a few years back, and I just absolutely love how quick they are to work up, and you can use them with really any color yarn or any size yarn. You just have to adjust your hook size and whatnot, but it's a super cute, easy beginner project that you can do. It's also great for busting your stash, and I hope you guys like it. The pattern is free, and I will link all of the information down below in the description. And without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so for our list of materials, you're going to need some yarn. I just went into my stash and I found this really pretty, like, fall colored yarn. Depending on the size yarn will determine the size of your crochet hook, but I am going to be using a size E or a 3.5 millimeter size crochet hook. You are gonna need some stuffing, so whether that be scrap fabric, scrap yarn, or some polyfill. You're going to need a cinnamon stick, or if you just want to save on money, even just like a twig or a stick from outside would, I think, give the same effect and it'd be just as cute. But I just had these on hand because I accidentally ordered cinnamon sticks rather than cinnamon powder one time, so I had these on hand. I'm going to be using a hot glue gun today. As always, whenever I crochet, you're going to need some stitch markers and some tapestry needles, and I have my trusty yarn bowl. So to start off, we're going to start with the magic ring. So we're going to hold the yarn on the inside of our hand at a diagonal, go straight down and make an X on the inside of our hand and 2 parallel lines on the top of your hand. Then you're going to take your crochet hook and you're going to go under and over, pull it through, twist, pinch, remove, and you're going to lock it into place, just like that. Now we are going to add 14 single crochets into the magic ring. 1, we're just going through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That's 2. So you should have 14 single crochets in your magic ring. Then we are going to go back to the very first single crochet that we did, and that doesn't count the one that we used to lock in this guy right here, just like that. We're going to do a slip stitch, which all you're going to do is yarn over, pull through, and then just pull through again. Then I am just going to add a stitch marker to that last single crochet that we did before we did the join. And that's just so I can keep track of the last single crochet. So this is our join, this is the last one, and because our join is right there, that makes this one the first one. And you want to keep your magic ring open because this is where we're going to put the stem or the stick of the pumpkin that we're making. So for round 2, we are going to chain 1, just like that, and we're going to add 3 single crochets into each stitch all the way around. So working in that first single crochet that we put the slip stitch in, we're just going to put 1, 2, and 3 single crochets in. And just for ease of keeping track, because it's been a while since I've made one of these, I am just going to make sure I mark that very first single crochet, just so I don't accidentally get it mixed up with that join stitch. But we're just gonna work 3 single crochets into each of those 14 single crochets that we did earlier. Since we added those 3 single crochets in each of the single crochets, we are going to join with a slip stitch. So we put the pink stitch marker in our last single crochet. So we're just going to insert our hook where the green stitch marker is, and we're going to yarn over and pull through, and then just pull through. And that's our join stitch. So this is the top of the pumpkin. So now we're gonna get started on working on the bottom. So first we're going to chain 27, and to do a chain, we have our loop on our hook. So we're just gonna yarn over and pull through, and that's 1 chain. Yarn over and pull through, that's 2 chains. 2 chains. And now we are going to do that 25 more times. So now we have 27 chains, starting from the second chain from the hook. So not this chain, but this one. You can see that V there. We are going to do a single crochet in that one. So right here, we're doing a single crochet, just like that. And again, because I have messed this up in the past, I'm going to add yet another stitch marker into that very first stitch right there. Then we are going to half double crochet into the next 24 stitches. And a half double crochet, you're going to yarn over, then you're going to insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull through. So you have 3 loops on your hook. So you're going to yarn over, and instead of just pulling through the first 2 like a double crochet, we're going to go through all 3, and that's a half double crochet. So again, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 stitches, just like that. Now we're going to do that 22 more times. Okay, so that was 24 half double crochets, and you can see we still have 1 more chain right there, and we are going to put a single crochet there into that final stitch. And fortunately, because we marked our first and last stitch of round 2, this is now very easy to see. But we are going to slip stitch into this green, where this green stitch marker is. So that means we're going to insert our hook right there. We're going to yarn over and just pull through both, just like that. And then we are going to slip stitch into the next single crochet on that loop. And that is what we're going to do there. So that is the end of round 1. So I am just going to put a stitch marker right where that last slip stitch was, just again so I can keep track of where I'm working. We're going to chain 1, which again is just yarn over and pull through. We're going to turn our work, so I'm looking at the back side of our piece, and we're going to skip those 2 slip stitches that we did last. So we know that the second to last one, or the final one, was the green stitch marker. So we'll skip that one, we'll skip that one. So our first stitch is going to be worked here into this one. And what we're going to work into that stitch, if I can move my stitch marker out of the way so I can see, is a single crochet. So we're just going to plop a single crochet, whoops, right here. Then we are going to work a half double crochet, but in the 3rd loop of these stitches. And the 3rd loop means, so you, with a half double crochet, you have here, here, which creates the V that you would typically see on like a single crochet, but you also have this piece here. So whenever it says we're working in the 3rd loop, we're only putting our hook in this back loop here. So I've already yarned over, and I'm just going to put my hook right here. And essentially what that does is it will push that pretty V shape forward, and it kind of gives like the effect of a ribbed sweater look. And we are going to work that same thing, only in the 3rd loop in the next 24 stitches. So that was 24 half double crochets in the 3rd loop only. So now we are going to put a single crochet into the final stitch, which is where our blue stitch marker is. And that's why I like to use multiple stitch markers for this pattern, because had I not marked this, like, given my experience and my practice over the years, I might do it correctly. but I've just messed up counting and keeping track of stitches so much that I've learned it's just best to mark the stitch. Better safe than sorry. So I'm just going to move this stitch marker now over to that final single crochet that we just did. And now we are ready for row 3. So we're going to chain 1. We are going to turn our piece. So now we are looking at the correct side. And if you're ever curious, like, or get lost or confused of which way you should be looking at it, so just keep track and try not to twist your work. But this is the top and the right side of the pumpkin. So we just chained 1 and we turned, and we are going to single crochet into the first stitch. So again, right where we put that blue stitch marker, I'm going to take this stitch marker out. I'm going to move it into the single crochet that we just made, and then we are going to work half double crochets into the next 24, working in that third loop only, just like we just did. So right there in that third loop. So that was 24 half double crochets. Next, I am going to put a single crochet into this final stitch right there. And just like we did before, we are going to add 2 slip stitches into the next 2 stitches. The first will go here, right where we took off, and the second will go into that next stitch right there, just like so. And I'm just going to take this green marker out, and I'm going to mark that final slip stitch right there. So now you can see this beautiful ribbed effect that we're getting for this pumpkin. So just like before, we're going to chain 1, we're going to turn our work. So now we're looking at the back side. We're going to skip over those 2 slip stitches, so that one and that one. We're going to work a single crochet into that very first stitch, just like so. Then we're going to work the half double crochets nearly to the end. And now in this final stitch where that blue stitch marker is, we're just going to put our single crochet. So now we are going to repeat those last 2 rows, so rows 3 and 4, all the way around the top until we get back to this pink stitch marker. So very simple stitches, so just keep working around and I will meet y'all towards the finish line. Okay, so we just finished adding all of our rows, and because of the way that I did this, I actually will have double the amount of rows, but that's okay. It'll just make it more fluffy when we stuff it. But your final row, you're gonna end at the bottom of the pumpkin, and you're gonna do your single crochet. We are then going to chain 1, and then we're gonna add an edge all around the bottom, just doing single crochets in each of the rows. So let's do that. Okay, so we have successfully added the border to the bottom of our pumpkin, and now we're going to join with a slip stitch to that very first crochet right there. So we're just going to yarn over and pull through and pull through, and that's a slip stitch. So now we are ready to fasten off, and you're going to want to leave a pretty substantially long tail for sewing. So I am gonna do probably like 3 feet or more. More is always better in this scenario because we can always cut off the excess. So I'm pretty good with that. So I'm just gonna snip this off and we're just gonna pull it through. I can now take these guys out, and I'm just gonna leave this one in just for the time being. But we wanna take our cinnamon stick or stick, because again, I think it would be cute with just like a little stick that you find outside, but do whatever makes you happy. So we're gonna put this cinnamon stick into the top of our pumpkin, and now we are going to pull the string from our original magic ring, and we're going to make it tight around the stick. This might take some effort, probably more effort for me than you if you didn't accidentally add double the rows. Should be something like that. And I know it is loose, but it will be fine for now. So I'm just gonna set this aside. Now you can either weave in the ends for the starting yarn, or like I'm just gonna leave it on the inside of the piece so that way I don't even have to worry about weaving it in. So now we are going to take the end of our tail and thread it into our tapestry needle, like so. And you're going to put the top of the pumpkin over here facing the left. And we're just going to essentially make almost like a ladder, like a Jacob's ladder sort of stitch on each of these rows. So you should have the same number of stitches all the way up, so we are just doing a 1 for 1. So we're gonna go through that single crochet. So we're gonna go across just like this, and then we're gonna come back. We're gonna go under here and under the third loop of the half double crochet on this side, just like that. And then we're gonna go again under that third loop of the half double crochet and then through that single crochet. That's the chain stitch that we made at the very beginning. And essentially what this is gonna do is it's gonna push this chain to the top and push the half double crochet underneath, and it will blend in with the rest of the stitches. And theoretically you won't be able to see where the pumpkin started or ended. And just keep following this sequence all the way to the top of the pumpkin. And there we go. So we have finished stitching. Now we want to take our tail and making sure that we're not just undoing our last stitch, we're gonna pull it through the center. And then in this very last stitch here, I guess I should say the first, we are going to put our needle through here, and we don't want to pull this tight, but we want to put a knot right here. Don't worry if this looks funny right now. We're just gonna put a knot. And so now we can pull on this part of the tail without it affecting the side or the top. Okay, so here we go. So now we are going to cinch up our pumpkin. So we're essentially gonna go in kind of like a wave pattern all the way around our pumpkin through this row of single crochets that we did right there at the end. We're going to just weave in and out, maybe skipping like 3 to 4 stitches in between, but just like that, this back and forth kind of pattern just along the bottom. Okay, so now you're gonna need your stuffing. So we're gonna start putting that in. And now you're just going to pull that tail edge, and it's just going to cinch together. So you're gonna pull this as tight as you can, and then tie a knot. There we go. So that's pretty good. There might be a little hole at the bottom, but I'm gonna stuff it some more, and then I think I might be able to pull it even further and then add another knot. So now what we're gonna do is, you see these holes right here? These were created when we added the 3 single crochets in each of those single crochets. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna poke our needle through the center of the pumpkin and out these little holes like that. Then once you have your yarn all the way pulled through, you're gonna go down through its neighboring hole. We're gonna poke that needle back down, and this will help cinch up the hole as well. But what we're gonna do is, instead of just going straight through the center where the stuffing is, we're gonna just grab some of these edges here. We'll start to cinch the bottom of this up as well. And when you pull down through the bottom, you're just gonna pull down a little bit, and you can see it's making like a little divot how a pumpkin normally would. So again, going through the center of the pumpkin and grabbing a bit of yarn, quite a bit, and we'll pull up. That'll pull that center down again. And again, going to the neighboring hole and straight down through the bottom. So this is roughly what it should look like when you finish going through those center holes. So you can see the center point of our pumpkin is pulled inward, and the bottom, though not pretty, is pulled in at the bottom. But now what we're going to do is fasten off our yarn. And to do that, I am just going to put my needle through a stitch. Then I'm going to insert it into that loop before pulling it all the way through. Make a knot. I'm gonna do that one more time. So now I'm gonna take the tail end of my yarn and I am just going to stick it through my pumpkin, literally anywhere. And then I'm going to snip off the tail just like that and cover it. So I'm just gonna kind of squish my pumpkin a little bit and kind of mold it into more of the shape. So it's less of a donut and more of a pumpkin, like so. And now I am gonna go heat up my hot glue gun because we are almost done. So now that my hot glue gun is all heated up, I'm going to take my cinnamon stick and work it into the center of my pumpkin, just like that. So now it is upright, pretty happy with that. Again, I'm just gonna squish and make sure it's exactly where I want it. And don't worry about the showing of the stuffing. But now I'm just gonna drop a bit of hot glue in here around my cinnamon stick. And you're like, wow, that is not pretty. Don't worry, don't panic. I'm gonna take this scrap yarn from my tail and I'm just gonna press it lightly into the hot glue. I'm just using my tapestry needle to push it in there because it's metal, so I can peel off any hot glue that sticks to it without any worry. And I definitely don't want to do it with my finger, but I'm just gonna add a little bit of yarn around the top before it cools and sets to hide any of those imperfections, just like so. Might even add just a little bit more. And really, I'm having to do this because I accidentally added extra rows, which is fine. It's just now I am just trying to make it look a little bit more polished and finished off because all of the extra rows are bunching up against one another, which again is fine, but it makes it harder for that center and bottom hole to close up just because it's trying to fit so much yarn into a small space. Now I am just going to snip off this excess and to push that last remaining bit down into the hot glue. And there we have it. So here is our finished pumpkin. It is so cute. Granted, I made a few mistakes because it has been a really long time since I've made this particular pattern, but that just goes to show you that even though somebody like me that you might have been following who can read patterns and knows how to crochet, I can still make simple mistakes. But in the end, I'm still really happy with the way that this pumpkin came out. It's funny because I actually made the same mistake years ago when I first made these, and then I corrected myself, and so it's interesting that I fell back into the same mistake, but that's okay. So hopefully you guys will love it either way, whether yours turns out like mine, which has a ton more rows, or if it's more along the lines of the pattern that's provided in the description below. Either way, I think this is an adorable, cute project for some decoration to kick off the autumn season and really channel those cooler weather days. That's a little bit in the future for where we live, but it's okay. I do love autumn, but I am sad to see summer go. I do absolutely love summer. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it inspires you to give it a go. This is, again, a great beginner project, so if you're new to the world of crocheting, this is a great project to start on and give it a whirl. And if you like content like this, be sure to check out my other videos on my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.